Hi YouTube, ACDodd here again, and welcome to another episode of On the Road Tuning with me, ACDodd. And this time we're down in Dorset and Poole, and we've also got a car that can't be tuned. Okay, so where are we today? We're down in Dorset and we're back to a farm that I went to about 2 or 3 years ago. So I've got another car here, not owned this time by the owner, but by someone else who's using the farm to do the tuning. So we have a nice minivan, and under the bonnet of this minivan there is apparently a 1275 MG Metro engine. So my job today is to get that to run well, and after being told that it's got the mid-range is a bit flat, and perhaps when you put your foot down, a bit of a flat spot, takes a little while for the power to come in. So let's dig in and see what we can find. So this one, we got into it. First thing you'll notice is the fan's on the wrong way. So I've told the owner that, so that will be that needs to be corrected. The other thing is the fan belt is extremely loose. Okay, so that's obviously not part of the tune-up, but just things that you notice that you can pass on to the owner. And funnily enough, I think he has reported battery problems, so that's probably part of the issue. Anyway, moving on, we've got a 59D Dizzy with points and a vacuum unit. It's all working perfectly. The timing was out by about 4 degrees, so I've advanced the timing. The vacuum unit's working. The dwell angle's correct, so I've checked that. So yeah, actually, the only thing I can say about this particular distributor is the advance curve is possibly a touch slow. However, because this is a high compression MG Metro engine, I believe that advance curve will help here, because it's just slowing the advance down in the lower RPM ranges, and that'll be enough to keep it from pinking. So I'm not actually going to change that. It's got a 3-ohm coil, so we're going to leave that on as well. But what it has got is a set of resistor plugs, which clearly we're going to change. So let's go and have a look at those. So looking at the spark plugs, we can see that actually we're not overfueling, well, maybe a touch, but it's just on a cold start. So, but the biggest issue here is we've got huge spark plug gap and we got resistor plugs. So we're going to change them for a fresh set of BP 6 ES plugs. We're going to gap them at the 25 thou, and then we'll carry on with the tune. Okay, so just checking the HT leads, and number one lead come off 9.5k. So we're going to pop a new set of leads on there as well with a new set of non-resistor plugs. That'll take care of the ignition, and then we can turn our attention to the carburetor. So one of the things I did is I changed the coil. So we got a problem with the old coil. It wasn't giving enough power really for idling. So I've changed the coil, which improved it, but our issue really is the fact we've got a bunch of air leaks. So we're leaking here. The carb was loose, I've tightened it up, but it's not improved it enough, and we're also leaking around the manifold where it joins to the head. So all I can do today is do my best with the needle, but in reality this one is going to need to be tuned again once it's had its air leaks fixed. So this is a good example of a car not necessarily being ready for tuning, although the owner didn't know he had air leaks, which is absolutely fine. But one of the things that people don't necessarily realise is you can't actually tune a car that's got air leaks on the inlet manifold or around the carburetor. So what I'm going to do today is to dial this in at best average, and then the owner's going to have to go away, strip this lot off, change all the gaskets. Then he's going to have me back down to get it all dialed back in again. Carburetor is 40 years old, seems to be working at the moment, but I think its true issues may be masked by the air leak, because we're having to run with the jet quite a way down to make that run. So you know that's one of the indications that you definitely got air leaks. So what we're going to do is kind of do an average best fit really to make this one work reasonable, and then in slower time the owner can address the other issues, and they may even want to, although I don't recommend it today because I can't tell, but they may even want to while the carb's off is replace it with a rebuilt one. But engine feels strong. So let's get this dialed in, and hopefully we can make this one run a bit better. Okay, so we got this one all back running again, buttoned up. We have problems though. Unfortunately, we got quite a consistent air leak on the carburetor to the and the manifold area. So the carb was loose. I've tightened it up, but it's still leaking. As you can hear, the idle's not ideal, and that is because air leak. But what I have done is I've managed to adjust the fueling so at least it drives properly. So the only issue is idling. So in slow time, the owner's going to have to take that lot off, reseal it all, put it back on, and then unfortunately I'm going to have to come back and set the carb up. So there was literally no point in me, you know, selling the guy a carb or any of that. It's an air leak. So, but what I have done is managed to get this to run really well. So. So that's ready for a test drive now, and we'll see what the owner thinks. Okay, so this one's becoming a bit more common nowadays. Is you come out to a car and unfortunately, you know, the carburetor was actually loose. The crankcase ventilation was actually open and pulling through the engine and going into the carburetor. And also there was leaks on the manifold where the carburetor bolted to obviously the manifold itself, and also where the manifold bolted to the head. So I couldn't obviously take any of that lot off because I just don't have time when I'm on the road tuning. So yeah, this is an example where the car's perhaps not necessarily ready for tuning, but in this case the owner didn't know that. You know, by having me there, I was able to inform them of these air leaks. So what we've since done is arranged for the owner to fix those, and I can confirm he's going to have me back down to tune that once it's done, and only then can we determine if the carburetor itself is able to you know, to fuel that, or we may even have to change the carburetor, but you know, that's for another day. Anyway, I thought I would interject there because just on this episode, this features cars that aren't necessarily in fine fettle. So without further ado, let's crack on to the next car. Okay, so we're in Poole and we're in an underground car park, which is very cool. And we've got this nice little 1983 classic Mini, little city. Under the bonnet, the usual 998. The owner doesn't want to be on a camera, which is absolutely fine by me. So our job is to make this little one run sweet, because apparently it's not very good. So let's get stuck in and see what we can find. Okay, so got the engine going after doing the valve clearances. We had a lot of play on the valves. Now the owner had said to me that he'd done the valves and he'd had someone else check them as well, but they were tapping a lot. As it turns out, there's a lot of wear on the rockers. So I think what was happening is the owner was pushing the feeler blade in too far and getting a false reading. So I've now sympathetically adjusted the rockers to take into account that wear, and we've now got a much quieter valve train. So it might come out still tappy on the microphone here on the phone, but in reality this is a lot quieter than it was. So what we're going to do now is go through the ignition system. So I've checked the coil. It's a 1.4 ohm unit. It's running a ballast feed, which is good. It's got a 59D Dizzy with standard points ignition, so the dwell angle's a bit small, so we're going to adjust that now. The spark plugs are all good, and it's got power spark leads. The only thing about the spark plugs was they needed gapping, so I've dropped them down to 25 thou to match this standard ignition system. So what we're now going to do is adjust the dwell and go from there. So getting further into this one, we find the carbon's gone out of the centre of the distributor cap. So I noticed that because I'm revving it and thinking this sounds terrible. So I just took that off to have a look inside, and that's what I found. So out with the old, in with the new. Clearly the rotor arm's seen better days, so I'm going to replace that as well with a performance mini spares item, one without the rivet, and it's made in England. So let's get this in, and hopefully that'll make this certainly run better. Okay, so where did we get to? Well, the answer is we don't have a success. So I'll just rev it and you can hear it. So I didn't move the throttle then, that just held it open. And as you can see, what's actually happening is it's running out of fuel. So watch that. So what you can see there is as you open the throttle, she just runs out of fuel. Now, I've gone through a number of needles, but that's basically not changing. So we've got a fundamental problem with the carburetor and the manifold. So I've checked the manifolds. We've got a leak on the head, both sides. We've also got a leak at this joint. I've also got a float bowl full of sediment, which I've blown through the jet to clean that out. And I've also got one of those horrible cheap fuel pumps. So the list of work for this guy is long, but I've basically suggested that he changes the manifold. So I said go and buy a stage 1 kit, fit a decent stage 1 kit on it, take the carb out, clean all the crap out, take the fuel pump off, clean that out, throw that away, buy a decent genuine fuel pump, change all the fuel lines, and then we should have something that at least is ready to tune, because at the moment, unfortunately, whatever I do to this, it's not going to work. And there's no point selling the guy a carburetor when I've got a fuel system that's contaminated with crud, and I've got the wrong fuel pump on it anyway. So what we're going to do with this one, unfortunately, is we're going to have to revisit this after he's done the work. But again, the owner didn't know that it had all these problems. So in as much, yeah, we've got it running, but it's not carbureting properly. So we're going to have to take a rain check on that and come back to this one when a lot more work's been done. Okay, so yeah, interesting car. So lots of faults with that one. So this is another example of where the car's not really ready for tuning. It's got air leaks, it's got sediment in the fuel bowl. The carburetor had been off and been sympathetically rebuilt by the owner, and he'd done a reasonable job. I'd certainly gone through it and verified that he put new parts in it, but we had a lot of play on the throttle spindle. We had a new needle in the carb. The piston damper and everything was working right. The gaskets were correct on the back, so we weren't blocking any ports, etc. But we had air leaks on the manifold, both where the carburetor bolts to the manifold and where the manifold bolts to the head. Now, clearly, this engine's got problems, because when you open up the throttle and it goes that lean, the fundamental physics of the carburation isn't working. So what I mean by that is I tried every needle that I had in terms of trying to get some fuel in it. It made no difference. So, the fundamental issue is it's not pumping air properly, and it's not able to pull the appropriate fuel out of the carburetor. Now, that may be because there's not the appropriate fuel in there. There was certainly fuel when I checked. The jet tube was clear, and we were delivering fuel, but I can't verify the pressure when it's under load. We had the aftermarket fuel pump, which are known to be problematic. So long list of work for that guy. But to be fair, he got a deal with the car. So I believe the car itself probably had that problem, which is why the guy got it at a reasonable price. So he's made a plan, and he's got some work to do to get that sorted out. And he's also said to me that I can come back, and he wants me to come back and tune it once it's ready to go. So again, it's no fault of the owner. They're calling me down to look at these cars because they don't know. And my job is to go and try and work out and try and tune these cars. But clearly when there's fundamental faults, that prevents me from doing that. So I have to give the benefit of my advice. But it also, the reason why I'm putting this on here is to let you know that not every car can be tuned, and they do have problems. So both of the cars featured on this episode weren't in a condition really to be properly tuned. The first car I was able to make the best of what I could, given the plumbing and the air leaks. But the second car just wasn't functional. So, one of the things I say is, if you book me, you need to let me know, if you think there's problems. If there's fundamental issues, then I won't be able to sort them out at a tuning visit. I'm only really there to either tune the car, or if there's a problem like that, then the only thing I can do is really go through and then help you diagnose what the situation is, and then give you a list of work that you need to do in slow time to get that car ready for tuning. Anyway, just before we go this time, I'm going to include an extra bit on air filters, so let's get into that. Cone air filters still giving problems, and it's because there's a particular supply of, I suppose you could say, counterfeit or dodgy or knockoff brands of about. I have one of these here, and this was removed from a vehicle in the last couple of weeks due to it not flowing sufficient air and causing the engine to run rich. So that restriction that the air filter causes will obviously cause a massive loss in performance, but not only that, it can actually wash your bores out because the engine goes so rich, even with a standard needle, that you end up with engine damage. So the advice here is, if you have or you want to buy a cone filter, and there's nothing wrong with that, then please stick to name brands, so like Pipercross, ITG, or obviously K&N. Now, they obviously cost a lot more money than these knockoffs, but they cost a lot more money for a reason, and that's because they work and they will save your engine. So I can fully vouch for the ones that Mini Spares sell. So I will include some links in the description so that you can purchase air filters that are rated by myself to be sensible in the applications that you need them for classic minis. So with that said, all I can say here is please like and subscribe if you want to see some more. Share these videos, let people know that this is a good source of information, and as always, I'll see you soon. So thank you very much.